Hello everyone, it's me Auntie, and I'm here with a commentary remake. This video is a retraction of my video from like 3 weeks ago. I'll be fixing some stuff that I got wrong in that video. I'll also be taking some of the criticism and try implementing it. I'll also try to hold back opinions because apparently these 9-year-olds can't seem to handle it. Anyways, on to the first video. Okay, so no, I'm not really sure, but not all of us want to get rid of all Gacha content. TBH, I just want the bad stories, fetishization, terrible toxicity, and porn to stop. We don't care what you do, you can just keep running in your circles. It's just that the community managed to overstep those boundaries, crash, and created us. BTW, I'm not generalizing the community. I made that mistake in my last video. Now I don't know if she means the content is coming from the anti-Gacha community or the Gacha community itself. If she is saying it's coming from the anti-Gacha community, I have seen only a small amount of it, and I'm pretty sure it's only trolls. If she is talking about the Gacha community, yeah, there is a lot of it. Also, who is we? You and what other people? If you really don't know why, I'll explain. A while after Gacha Life came out, there were bad Gacha Life stories and music videos. There wasn't really an anti-community at the time. Then the porn, faking of mental health/illnesses, and toxicity came along and the anti-community was born. We were small at first, but the more people found out about the community and the more people in the community started hating Gacha, the bigger we got. We continued to grow the longer this shit went on for. The situation has not escalated to Gacha channels being hacked. Just to let you know, I do not support what these fools are doing. I repeat, I do not. Well, not exactly. You may delete, block and ignore them, but just interacting with them can get you hacked. Also, they might have the ability to buy your channel. It can also be hacked without the links or stuff like that. Well, there wasn't much wrong with this video. TBH, the only thing wrong was some missing information, and a few corrections. The way I reacted to this last time was pretty dumb. I hope this was good enough because last time I was kinda being an ass. Anyways, on to the next video. Actually, I don't have much to say on the next video. I still kinda stand by what I said because that video was pretty dumb, so I'll just be talking about something else, specifically people who have been defending Luni. I would talk about Luni fangirls, but I think I would get brain damaged just by looking at the thumbnail. The first is literally just some girl calling Luni a god and kissing his ass. which is really cringy to listen to. Alright, on to the next video.
Hello everyone. This is not going to be a speech for hacking or Gacha freedom. In fact, I would like to address and talk about a very, very important person, Luni, the creator of Gacha, the creator of Gacha World, Gacha Studio, Gacha Verse, Gacha Life, and lastly, Gacha Club.
Okay, first, why are you trying to sound so serious? This isn't a serious matter. This is so dramatic, and the lack of any background music, or noise in general, makes this video so hard to sit through.
This video is to Luni himself. Luni, probably never reach you, but if you're watching this video, I would just like to say thank you. Thank you so much for making an extreme and awesome, amazing game that we all love and play, that involve Gacha. We know you work so hard on your videos, your games, the coding, the encryption, the stress, and the fans. It's a lot to take in, and you've done a great job of handling it.
Okay, I'm sure that the coding for a dress-up game must not be as complicated as any other game. Also, amazing game? Again. It's a dress-up game for 9-year-olds. There are clipping and glitches that has been around since the Gacha Studio. I've seen better from other shitty dress-up games. Literally go to any other shitty dress-up game and this isn't a problem.
I want to point out to everyone who is watching this video, including you, Luni, that you, Luni, didn't do anything bad. You are nothing bad. And everyone, he is not a terrible person. And whoever is being a jerk and sending him threats, it needs to stop.
While he didn't do anything terrible, that doesn't absolve him of any criticism, whether it's about the community or his game. No one is exempt from criticism. There is always something that needs fixing, especially when it comes to video games and ones as bad as his. Also, threats? Is it death threats or just stupid ones? Either way, I agree, no one should be sending him threats. It's immature and doesn't solve anything.
Why? Because he was the one who made the game in the first place. All you people hating on Luni, you wouldn't even be here, let alone know him, if he didn't make a game like this.
You are saying that like we want to play this game, that we want to know him. I'm sure most of us would have been fine without his game or knowing who made it. This is a problem because she starts going on about how life-changing this game is.
You play his games. He made this game. You watch creations from this game. I understand that you may be upset on this game, but seriously? Just because he's the creator doesn't mean he's the one to blame. He didn't do anything wrong.
Again, Luni didn't do anything terrible, but he has a community made up of impressionable and terrible kids, and he doesn't do anything to at least keep the community in check. And no, that isn't his job, but again, it's community mostly made up of kids. Not even the more mature ones do that much. Also, it is still very much possible to make NSFW stuff in the game. Like, is it hard to remove inappropriate stuff in the game? It's nothing terrible bad with some of the community be sexual and toxic because there are some teenagers in the community. But this stuff from younger kids should not be happening. Also, while it's not illegal for minors to make NSFW stuff, it is illegal to distribute it to minors. Knowing that you are giving minors access to the NSFW material, this technically means Luni is doing something illegal, aka non-contact sexual abuse. Luni has a community made up of children. Some of these children have made porn and have shown it to other minors. Luni has acknowledged it and has done nothing. A type of non-contact sexual abuse is not preventing children from seeing the NSFW material, and being aware that they are seeing it. Therefore, Luni has committed non-contact sexual abuse. He has also, by adding that warning in the beginning of the game, brought the situation to light to those new to the community that don't know about the community's problems. I mean, they would have seen it one way or another anyways, and while other adults if also acknowledge this, they have at least tried to do something. There was a parent who left a review of the app and community. That is already doing something. Unlike Luni, which is literally nothing. If YouTuber can take time out of their day to acknowledge your shitty app and community, you can get off your ass and do something.
He just makes amazing games. He develops and works his butt off for all of you. He has no control of the people that do bad things. He has no control over the actions of everything that you see on YouTube. All the bad content, I understand it's terrible, but he is not the person who did that. He can't control people. He can't control their reactions. And I highly doubt he made anything in this game to be used in a bad way.
Oh my god, wow, it's almost like, we can see that. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, of course he didn't. Do you not know how old most of the anti-Gacha community is? It's like we can totally see that. You obviously don't know what you are talking about. You don't know why those people in particular are angry and don't like him. Maybe if you didn't get so triggered, actually looked at why and wasn't so blinded by being a cringy fangirl, you would see
that everyone attacks him on. And I'm only talking to the ones that hate him, who are complaining and stressing him out from all the stuff that you see. Stop. It needs to stop. Seriously. Again, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Just because the clothes are different, the poses are different, that's not his fault. Everybody makes poses. Everybody makes clothing. Everybody has their own natural texture of ways. And he probably just wanted to see some funniness, if he would put in some comedy, or just any natural given amazing talents of his own brain that he created.
Okay, yeah, he didn't do anything too bad, but could you not act like he's the most innocent person to ever live? God, you remind me of Yandir Dev. You think we wanted to be here, getting upset when we see you little shits all over the place. I literally can't escape you all. I go to look for drawing references and I see some weird ass Gacha edits, and I try to stay as far away as possible. I'm sure most of us would like to enjoy the damn game without getting hated on just by being associated with the damn game. I'm sure some of us would like to design characters and enjoy the time we spend making them, but the community is so shit that the slightest association with the damn thing gets you hated on to a ridiculous degree. I saw a small YouTuber talk about their problems with the community after leaving, and the comments were pretty bad. Also, WTF was that explanation at the end? I could barely understand it. What funny stuff would you be able to make with inappropriate outfits and poses? I guess that means he thinks faking mental illnesses, porn made by minors being shared with other minors, and toxicity is funny.
Big whoop if anything went bad, but that's not his fault. So stop looking at him like he's the bad guy. His games are amazing, his work is amazing, his effort is amazing, and his spirit is most certainly unbelievable. Luni, you are an amazing person. Don't ever have anyone tell you otherwise. Because your game has changed the world. You are not one to blame for so much in this community. And I see coding is very complicated when it comes to games. I was in a class myself, and it was difficult. You keep going, and keep making this game great. Because you are a person that has changed so many lives.
His game has changed the world? Please explain, show us, in what way this game has changed the world. Over-exaggerating there a lot, don't you think? Could you not do that? His game isn't that amazing. It's literally a dress-up game. The only interesting thing is the battle and storytelling part of the games. But I bet you didn't actually take the time to see how much better it makes the game, 'cause it's the only interesting thing. Again, it's a dress-up game. It hasn't changed lives. I highly doubt that a game based around designing cute chibi characters is life-changing. I need someone to please explain how this game benefited you in any way, 'cause I ain't seeing it. Okay, I have nothing to say on the rest of this video. Mostly because it's so hard to sit through. She continues to praise Luni and put him on the pedestal of some type of god. I agree that Luni isn't a terrible person. He doesn't deserve the hate he gets. But how fucking far are you willing to go to make this man, that you don't even know, seem like a good-intentioned soul that could do no harm? She is over-exaggerating so damn much I had to stop because I just couldn't wrap my head around how you didn't take the time to listen to how you really sound. I know you didn't want it to come off this way, but you sound like an obsessed fangirl. BTW? Question. Do you like BTS or Steven Universe? Anyways, next video. Okay, what I am assuming is your last video on the topic only has 33 views. I'm sure the small amount of those in the anti-Gacha community that saw that video wouldn't listen to you, especially since you're a Gacha. Yes, they are right. Most of the content made by the community is toxic and gross. There are kids who shouldn't even be on YouTube coming across these videos and watching them, and most likely even getting influenced by the information in the video, aka Gacha life mini-movies and stories. They are either toxic, misrepresent a lot of stuff and spread misinformation. Also videos that fetishize the LGBTQ+ community, abuse, rape, and more. These are things that should not be taken lightly, or seen in the way the community represents them. Also the way they call edits art, when it's not. It's literally just a traced or edited image of some weirdly thick chibi characters. The community is literally terrible to any kid just now joining without already knowing about how bad the community is. Oh no. We triggered him. He's gonna make a killing video. Oh shit, we are so fucked. He's so scary. I better stop working on this video. Oh my fucking god, he is gonna expose us? Please. I must see what evidence you think you have on anyone besides the Anti-Gacha Council. You are gonna expose the members? Please do it, 'cause I just need to see your poor excuses for evidence. I bet I'll get a good laugh out of it. Okay, what other anti-community? The only other ones I've heard of recently are the anti-Yandersum community. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Also, that last sentence didn't make much sense, but whatever. So yeah, that's all. Sorry this took so long. I'm honestly thinking about turning likes and dislikes off for this video because just like my last video, it reminds me of who exactly I'm supposed to be making these videos about and the type of people that will see them. Like I literally got so many kids in my comments accusing me of supporting the hackers when I said I don't. But I will keep comments under review. I don't mind the long paragraphs or any harsh criticism, but then I'm just second thinking that because I also got death threats and kids raging, I wish I didn't delete them or at least took some screenshots. Guess that shows how shitty this childish community is. Also, I'll be redrawing my characters' stills, because they look rushed and bad. Okay, I'll stop dragging on now. This video is long enough, and remember, Gacha kids like to fake mental illnesses. They believe anything Luni says, and the anti-community may be hypocritical sometimes, but at least we are more mature than the Gacha community. Goodbye.